All right, so what are my options when I'm trying to pass a guy? And to me, this is, regardless if the guy is serving and volleying or just hitting an approach shot, my mindset really should be the same, okay? And this is really predicated upon, based on the position of the guy coming forward, okay? I've got to know slightly whether they're behind the service line or in front of the service line on their side, because that's going to dictate a lot about where I target. Okay, so let's look at an example here first where Mark's just going to drop feed a ball, and I'm going to have him stop a step or two behind the service line. Okay, Mark, so just hit one in here. I'm going to catch it, and he stops right there. All right, so have a look at that. There is a lot of room between Mark and the net. So this is where I don't love the idea of a passing shot, actually, because he's far enough back that if I decide to go line, he's got some room and some time to cover that. The same with cross court, and for sure I can't throw up a lob at this point because he's back almost in no man's land. A lob is not effective at all. So my idea is when Mark's, a step or two behind the line, I like to actually take that room that he's giving me between him and the net, which is pretty expansive, and get the ball down at his feet. He's going to be forced to pop it up. It's not going to be hard for me to get it to his feet because I've got so much room. And now I'm making a really kind of high percentage play because I'm targeting the center of the court. Don't see how I'm going to miss that shot. And he's got to pop one up. So yes, most likely there's a second, possibly a third shot for me to have to hit to end this rally, where a passing shot would generally be one and done. But I feel like with those second and third shots, if he's giving me room off the service line, I'm in control of that entire rally. All right, so let's have a look at this first, where the server who's serving and volleying, or just somebody who's approaching, comes in and leaves too big of a gap between them and the net, and I'm just going to target their feet and kind of go right at them. All right, so Mark, here we go. You're going to stop a little short. Okay, pretty good example right there. I didn't go right at his body. I generally try to get it slightly to that backhand side. I feel like most players getting down low a little bit to the backhand side are going to struggle more than their forehand. But let's even see, Mark, I'm going to go pretty much directly at you here. Same ball. All right, so here he comes. Okay, so here I am. He popped it up. I come in a little bit. He actually closed a little more. Now I've got a really easy look at maybe drilling him, passing him cross court, passing him line. He now is close enough where a lob becomes an option as well. So a little more tennis to play when you target the guy's feet, but again, very high percentage, and allows me to really feel in control of the point while still, playing pretty aggressive tennis. Pretty awesome play. So that's me being aware that he's behind the service line when it comes to me striking the ball. That awareness, I can't stress that enough. If the ball's coming across the net and you have no clue the distance between your opponent and the net, it's very tough to choose the correct shot to hit in this scenario. All right, so now, Mark, I'm going to back you up. He's either a faster player, he hit a little more quality shot coming in, and now as I'm striking the ball, he's a step or two inside the service line. Let's have a look at this. Mark, go ahead and feed me one here. Okay, bang. All right, so now I'm aware of Mark's presence. He's a little closer to me. I don't have as much room to get the ball down at his feet now. It's a very good chance he'll close me out if I try to get it to his feet and put away a ball. So now the idea of a passing shot really is at the forefront of my strategy. And there's three options here. I've mentioned them briefly already, but look at the forehand here. If he comes into this side, I obviously have the down the line ball, okay? That really straight, penetrating shot. It's very important that this ball comes off a little flatter than your standard ground stroke, because Mark on this side has a little less court to cover, and my ball will not be shaping you know, with any angle on it. It's really going to be a very direct shot, and with one step and some reach, he's got a chance to put his racket on the ball. So we need speed, we need a little less height on the ball, and we want to flatten this thing out to get it to that short distance up the line as quickly as possible. All right, so Mark, I'm going to have you, yeah, just feed one in, and notice when I go for this ball, oh, I'll take that all day. The way to execute that shot, although this isn't quite a technique lesson, don't drop the racket as much. That's going to create this arcing ball. Mark, come on in for me real quick. If I go a little too far under this tennis ball and I arc it up the line, you know, we get height over the net. You know, he's got a high volley now. There's hang time on the ball. It allows him to cover that shot pretty easily. So don't drop the racket in the backswing too low. Play it more level with where the height of contact is going to be, and play a ton of racket speed. Because the one factor that tends to make us miss in the net when we aim low is a lack of really committing to hitting that nice bullet. Okay, so hit that shot fast, hit it hard, keep it low when you're going down the line. Now, what about cross court? It's a completely different feel for when I'm hitting a passing shot when I go cross court. Mark, feed me out a little bit. Okay, so I get to here. All right, now to go cross court, if I hit that bullet straight through, the ball actually gives Mark a little easier play, and it gives me less reaction time to get back in case Mark volleys up the line here. So I always err on the side of, all right, maybe my cross-court pass is not going to be a clean winner, but I have to have it dipping so that if Mark does get a racket on it, once again, he's popping the ball up. Okay, so where the down the line pass, I really do feel like I'm going for a clean winner against the guy. The cross-court pass, maybe it's a clean winner, maybe it's not, but if I get that arcing angle to the ball, even if he does get a racket on it, I'm still really in control of the point. All right, so Mark, feed me out wide here. Yeah, so I'll take that. Lucky shot by him, that's okay. I mean, look, how do I create that? Now I really am getting the racket farther below the ball. On the forehand side, I'm trying to get around the right side of the tennis ball to create that cross-court angle. And racket speed, again, because it's spinning more, even though it's, you know, probably considered more of a finesse shot, don't hit it slow, because with all that spin, if you slow it down, you could see how that ball hangs up too long. That's another shot Mark could close out and get himself a high volley. So the faster you swing up on the cross-court pass, the quicker it should dip down into the court. Okay, so now, third option would be the lob. And now to me it's like, you know, if he's only a step or two, go back one step, Mark. If he's only a step or two inside the service line, good athletic player, I'm choosing down the line or cross court for my pass. I'm not thinking lob. But if he closes in, go another 2 or 3 steps, now there's something to be said for going up over the top. And very similar to the cross-court pass where I'm dropping the racket down more, creating more spin, creating more dip. Now I could throw on just kind of a vertical finish. It looks very similar to a passing shot, but it's going to get over the top of him and drop down behind him, probably somewhere in no man's land. This is the play I use probably the least out of the 3, because a smart volleyer wants to progress up through that net area. It's just rare that you're going to see a guy hit the approach or hit the serve and all of a sudden be on top of the net. So a good player's progressing, which means the lob's not as much in play. But if you do see somebody at some point just camping out right on top and they give you a ball where it's time to get it by him, Mark, go ahead and feed me one in. Here I go with a little vertical finish. That also would be considered a passing shot, even though it's up over the top of him. Definitely option number 3 for me, though, simply because if he's a good mover, even if he is close, I don't want my opponents getting a lot of overheads. All right, so there's the 3 options. The down the line You know, guys pretty close to the net, hit that flatter drive. It's got to get there quick. Cross court, you're looking more for that dipping angle. We're okay there having that not be that clean passing shot. Might have to play another ball or two. And on that over-closed position by the opponent, throw the lob up. You're giving them 3 options to look at, mix them all in, and again, variety is key. So all 3 shots are fun to hit. Probably pick which one you hit the best generally and roll with it, but use the other 2 sparingly so that the opponent doesn't get too comfortable against the same passing shot over and over. All right, so what's a good balance, first of all, between hitting passing shots and lobbing? You know, I think numbers always can help us, like some viable path to getting the right results. I'm like an 80-20 guy between passing shots and lobs, sometimes maybe even 85-15, meaning 80 to 85% of the time that I'm in a position to either pass a player or lob them, I want to hit the passing shot. I just feel like it sets up more for that modern brand of tennis. And unfortunately, a lot of times I think lobs, they come off, they should be a surprise to the opponent rather than the opposite, which is predictable. And a lot of times the lob only gets utilized at the club level, even if it's a decent level, when the opponent sees that you're in trouble, and these lobs just become kind of, you know, really easy shots for the opponent. So those lobs that we use maybe 15 to 20% of the time that we're in a passing shot situation, now they start to work a little more of a surprise tactic against the opponent. But with all that being said, it's like me being up in a match 6-1, 4-0. Something is absolutely working right for me. So at 4-0 in the second set, should I just throw away the game plan I've been using and try something new as I try to finish out the match? Or do I go with what's working? Absolutely, the answer there is continue with what's working. This would ring true with passing shots as well. If Mark brings a ball into my forehand side, and initially I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to give a passing shot up the line a go here, and he stays in the middle of the court and doesn't cover over at all, I'm going to hit some clean passing shot winners, okay? So here I am, he's staying in the middle, not covering the line, and I've got a passing shot. If the next time he comes to net and I see the exact same thing and that worked so easily, why would I go anywhere else but that spot? Now, he doesn't want to be made to look silly up there. So naturally, a good player, if they've been beat down the line a couple times, should start to shade over. At that point, yes, the down the line was working, but there's an adjustment being made on the other side. So now what makes sense? Okay, here he comes. And now I'm looking maybe for that cross-court pass. So go with what works. If it's not failing you and the opponent is not making a good adjustment against what is working for you, stick with it. Absolutely. Might be a little bit boring. Same shot over and over, but you know what's not boring is winning. So that's kind of the overwhelming theme, is go with what works first, and then probably an 80 to 20% ratio between those down the line and cross-court passing shots versus going up over the top with that lob. Okay, now, second point to make here is it pace or is it placement that really should be at the forefront of these passing shots? Obviously with the lob, I'm not beating a guy because I'm crushing lobs. So pace with that idea is kind of out the window. But the down the line pass and the cross court pass, I think if you asked Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, first and foremost, they are trying to place their passing shots extremely well. Now, they place them so well at fast speeds that you're thinking, well, they're hitting for power, Brady. Of course they are. They're great at still placing the ball with a pretty ridiculous amount of power. But for some of us who aren't that skilled, placement should come first, because in a scenario where even up the line, you know, if I can thread the needle between Mark and the sideline at maybe 75% of my power, I still think I probably have a winner on my hands. Let me take a little bit off this mark. Okay, that shot I just hit, the only thought on my mind was placement. Have great placement. Now, if over the course of the match I hit it at that speed with that placement, and Mark's now getting a racket on the ball, now I will start to add some power to that shot. I got to do what it takes to beat the level of opponent that I'm playing. But I think you guys would agree that was a very quality passing shot without me having to tap into those really high levels of racket speed where power would be more kind of what my thought was. Same with cross court, especially more with cross court. You know, I didn't even get that wide, but I could keep kind of chewing off a little bit of court there over and over with each passing shot attempt. And placement for sure is what's going to become the kind of clean winner factor on the cross court ball, simply because I'm hitting more spin. That ball's just not going to ever travel through the air cross court as fast as it will up the line because I'm hitting the line ball flatter. All right, so I love the idea of placement first with your passing shots. Get very accurate with where they're landing, and then if tacking on some power is necessary because the opponent is forcing you to hit more power, absolutely. Okay, now a little bonus on this, a time where I really do think power is key, is if the ball that Mark hits over to me and I'm thinking passing shot brings me inside the court. You'll see this with Federer a lot. Mark, I'm just going to catch this ball. Okay, so here I am. I'm coming in. Okay, now I love to kind of almost scare the guy. I don't want to be diabolical here, but I like to scare the guy. He should not be bringing me forward as he's at the net. And I don't want to overthink this shot. I think there's a lot of you out there that as you come forward, you're getting closer to your opponent. It's getting a little bit stressful. Oh my gosh, which way should I go? And we overthink it, and we miss what should be a pretty easy point or a put away. Add some power on that. It will take your brain out of the shot. You're coming up, you're just committing to really swinging, and then when you execute it, your opponent's going to get the message like, wow, I better be careful about leaving the ball short to this guy. So let's see this scenario where I would come up, yeah. Okay, look where that landed. Like if I land that ball there or send it there from behind the baseline as a passing shot attempt, good night to me. Mark's putting that ball away. But it absolutely works up there because I'm closer to my target. He should be a little more fearful. All in all, good time to go for power as your passing shot's occurring more inside the baseline. Okay, so in a nutshell, 80% pass, 20% lob, maybe 85-15. And then for sure, let placement trump that power idea up until the point where you need both. It's required because the level of player that you're against forces your hand a little bit. Okay, so what's the best play in terms of a passing shot if our opponent is just closing out the net super tight? All right, so let's go through this scenario real quick. There's Mark. He's in a position to hit an approach shot. Maybe he's just served, and the ball's coming in here to my forehand, and bang, there he goes. Okay, this happens a lot. We get very aggressive net players around the club level that simply by closing in like that, a lot of times I think that makes the baseliner panic a little bit. Wow, this guy flew into view, and even though I'm standing here thinking to myself, well, there's so many options I have to beat Mark right now, with a little bit of panic and without some pre-planning, this player can wreak havoc on us back here at the baseline. All right, so Mark, I'm going to keep you right there. The one option I do want to rule out is the cross-court pass. And the reason for that, and this was something, Mark played some indoor tennis. I was up in Seattle, it was indoors. The ball's a little bit quicker indoors, and guys would close in tight, and it just would be a scenario where cross court with you there, go ahead and feed me a ball. He's on top of the net. It's just, there's no wiggle room to get that by him. And the other idea is that like I've been saying, the idea on a cross-court pass is normally to get the ball dipping. And with him so close to the net, there is no window to dip the ball down. So a lot of times I think that cross-court passing shot attempt when he's close to the net becomes more of a flat drive. It just, to me, it doesn't work. So down the line absolutely works. Simply because he has to work laterally now. A great volleyer covering it down the line normally covers on a slight diagonal where they're closing out the net as they're getting closer to the net. Because he's so far in, the only move he has to make on this ball, just reach out, Mark, is lateral. That's more of a defensive move from a net player. I'm not even worried if he gets a racket on this. It should be a pop-up. But regardless, he cannot cover the line as well when he's already so close. And so that down the line works great. I'm hitting that heavy ball. I'm okay with him touching it. A lot of times you might see a frame volley out over the fence over there because they're just in a bad position as they're covering line with a lateral move, okay? Previously I had said that lobbing in a passing shot scenario should be an 80 to 20 proposition, maybe 85-15. In this scenario, the lob is quite a bit of a higher percentage, okay? I don't care if he's 6'7" and is my height. I've been lobbed when I get that close and the ball only just barely cleared the service line. It's very, very tough when you're that tight to the net to cover any decent lob, meaning just past the service line is totally workable. So that would be my other play. And I'll usually save the lob though when he's tight for the little bit of a slower ball. If it comes fast, I drill the line. It comes in a little bit slower. It's easier for me to get my racket under. Yeah, that one right there. So much margin for error back there. And what's he going to do? Chase it down? Nope, absolutely not, because the topspin bounce hits and releases. So you cannot panic. Be aware that they're that tight to the net. Rule out the cross court. Pound it up the line. Use the topspin lob a little more often than you would just use in a standard passing shot setting. And then, little bonus here, if you guys don't like the idea of the opponent getting that close to the net, if you're thinking, hey, they're kind of being a bully, how do we back off a bully? We send a shot right at them. Pretty hard, very, very similar to my down the line ball, little flatter, little more ball speed through the air. Even if they make the volley, they should be kind of jammed up. It at least sends the message that I'm not going to sit back here and just kind of massage the ball back and let you stay on top of the net. I'm going to pound it into them and kind of put some fear into them a little bit. Okay, so Mark, you be ready over there. I'm going right at you. I don't like guys. Yep, look at that. I got him to back off. Again, he made the volley. Great hands. I think he's going to think twice about standing that close to the net, though, because I think I have a little more juice to spare there. Maybe I tag him once or twice, not out of, malice, but just I don't want to be bullied around on the tennis court by a guy that's standing really close to the net, okay? So, yeah, rule out the cross-court pass if he's close, rip the down the line, hit the lob a little more often, and once in a while, take that huge ball right at him just to send that good message that, hey, I'm gonna play my style. I'm not gonna let you dictate how I feel out here on the tennis court.